All right, welcome everyone. It is time for Pulse Overtime, where we take your questions about our previous live Pulse Power session. This is our Productivity Ultimately Leads to Success every day, where we help agents build their businesses and help people across the country develop massive real estate success. I'm joined by my business partner, Anna McKeel. And today, Anna, yep, say hi, Anna. Sorry, just going so fast.
Hey
And today,
everyone, we're so excited about this, so we're going to jump right in.
yeah, and today we're so excited because we're jumping right into leverage. My favorite word in all of real estate. And as we go through our core model in our Pulse program, leverage is a huge piece that helps us work smarter, not harder. And I think that is so critical to a real estate business. We have people leverage, we have technology leverage, and then we have a third category which we really dove deep into this week, which is tools. Right? If we have the right tools, Anna, then we can be more effective. We've learned lessons from other top not only agents but CEOs, business professionals around the country so that we can have more success. And this week the tool that we've been discussing is a powerful tool called the First Things First. And it is
Yep.
a daily time management tool that has helped me really not only focus on what matters, but eliminate so many distraction projects. Because I don't know about you, Anna, but I love distraction projects, right? All of these crazy things that we should be thinking about doing that could possibly grow our business, um, all that stuff. So Anna, yeah. So what did you think of today's session? And I know we have a bunch of questions, and we also have people joining us for the live stream. So yeah, how can we jump in? How can we help?
Absolutely. So I think a lot of the why behind the first things first is something we talk about often. First, you have to know how to lead yourself before you can lead others. And oftentimes, the first level of leading yourself is having the tools and the systems and the resources, like the first things first, so that you can have massive success. And a lot of people overlook this step, but they want to hire their first assistant. And then they set this assistant off to the free world trying to figure out the priorities. If you use first things first for yourself, for your business, you have the ability to systematically grow your business, to incorporate more leverage through technology and leverage through people. So we had a ton of questions come through. And so we're going to jump right in. The first one is on the first things first, Brendan. If my goal is to door knock 10 doors a day, is it okay that I put that priority in the must do section of the first things first? Or should I just say, I'm going to hit my conversation goal? And for those following along on the live stream, whether you're following us on YouTube or the Facebook group, we have a copy of the first things first in the description and chat box below. So go ahead, feel free to download it, or you can email us at info@pulsepoweragent.com and we'll make sure you get a copy of this resource.
Yeah, so let's talk about it. So the question was, and let's put that into context. We have two things that we must get done today. We have two or four things that we should do today, and we have about six things that we'd like to get to today. So in organizing this, the question is, if I'm doing door knocking, right, should that be on there? The answer is absolutely yes. Remember the bottom of the sheet though, just making it very specific. Is it door knocking to a specific neighborhood to have 10 conversations at the door, right? And I would even take it a step further. It is, I'm going to door knock X neighborhood until I have 10 conversations about the buyers I'm working with that are interested in this neighborhood. Maybe it's, I'm going to door knock 10 expired listings that came off the market today with the goal of having two conversations because maybe eight people don't answer the door. Perhaps that's what the number is. So I hope I'm answering that correctly, but the answer is yes, because your conversations are going to happen at the door. Now, if you're not going to be able to hit all your conversations at the door, let's say that your goal is 50 for the week and you're going out for a very specific door knocking session Well, then you've got to decide after that session, how am I going to make up the rest of the conversations? Remember, I don't want to over confuse this. I always looked at a conversation at the door to be worth two conversations on the phone. Now, I don't want you to go and start cheat sheeting your stuff, right? But you got to think about it. For most of us, we're going to be more impactful in person. The downside of it is that it takes a lot more time. But I see agents spending so much time on dialers and doing all of these things, and hopefully all doing it, following all the right rules that we preach about all the time. But they're sitting there for 6, 8 hours, or they have an ISA that they've hired from XYZ country that's sitting on the phone doing all of these things. All of that is awesome. But are we doing it with the intention that we're trying to find somebody that's looking to buy or sell a home in the next 90 days? Or that every conversation I'm going to have is going to lead to becoming an ambassador at some point, meaning that I'm bringing them in, I'm nurturing them, and then at some point they're going to trust me. And I've told this story before, and I've got people that I met from calling random just sold calls, right? This is a call where my office just sold 123 Elm Street. I called, everyone that's on the do not, or not everyone that is already washed through the do not call list, didn't call the do not call list. And I did all the right rules. And when I talked to these wonderful people, some of them had no desire in selling or buying, but they referred me to their mom. They referred me to their sister. They lived in a trailer park, and I happened to get a weird number, and they're renting in a trailer park. Build a relationship with them. Their mom happens to be passing away. They're going to now get the settlement, and now they're moving out of the trailer into a $600,000 single family home. So it's still the relationship that matters, but just make sure we're very specific on those 2 points. I hope that answered the question.
It does, and we're going to kind of keep diving into this because our one of our Pulse Power agents, Kara Redman, is on the live stream, and she's going to double down on this because I think a lot of people want to get clarity on the must do's, the things that are going to move the needle forward. Now, Brendan, for agents who have been in the business, let's say a couple of years or even longer, and they're struggling with conversion and they've gone back to basics, taken our business vitality checklist. If you haven't taken the checkup, we'll make sure you get a copy of it. And they've gotten a score, let's say, on their listing program that says, hey, you have some work to do to make sure that you can actually convert. You're putting in the conversations, you're putting in the time to lead generate, to build more relationships, but you're not able to convert, and you've got to work on your listing presentation. Is it okay to say things in your must-dos like work on my listing presentation for 30 minutes a day, Monday through Friday, as a must-do? Or would you always recommend that be a second tier should do?
Great question. And it should always be a second tier should do, because for this simple point, I could have the most impressive listing presentation that the world has ever seen. I've practiced, I've rehearsed, I've done all this. If I never have anybody to deliver it to, it's worthless. So she's exactly right. It's such a tough balance of scheduling in that time. That definitely should be something. But if I haven't hit my conversation goal yet, I'm not going to work on my listing presentation. If my weekly ambassador goal hasn't been hit, or my 46 touches haven't been processed for not all of them, right? This is a great question. So I want to give everyone the clear understanding of what a normal day looks like when you're really committed to making a boatload of money, right? And it's not more work, it's just really disciplined sprints. So we've said this before. I got the question the other day, and we'll post all these tools. Or again, they're all in the toolbox inside the Elite Home Partners dashboard. But one of my favorite tools is what we call the top producer schedule. And it's just structuring your mind to understand that I'm going to go from the most likely person to do business with me every morning, or most likely people out there, to the very least likely. And that always goes in the same order. It's always expires for sell by owners, rent by owners, the notice of elective demand, which is depends on your area, but that means people that are in pre-foreclosure. We've got absentee owners. So remember, a rent by owner is someone that is trying to rent their house right now that is looking for a tenant. That means they have an open vacancy for a property that they probably are annoyed with or maybe asking too much rent for, that you can call and help them sell and get them out of having to deal with this. An absentee owner is someone that lives in another state, owns a property. The tenant might still be in the property, but they're like, gosh, this guy's got 4 more months. I'm not ready to sell anything right now. But when the time comes, you're that resource. And you've provided them with market analysis and follow up and care and sweetness and all that fun stuff. Sweetness. I don't know where that came from. Just you're nice to them. I don't know what else to say. Some of us are just, we got to get better at being nice to our people in our database. And then as we go through our checkdowns, then we go to just sold, just listed, open house invitation calls, and then we end up at center of influence in past clients. Now, some of your heads are blowing up right now and going, well, I spend all day in my database with my center of influence in past clients. And that is why you always do 20 to 25 deals a year. No matter how good your database is, unless you have a 4,000 person database that you've built over 30 years that are on 46 touches, no matter how much you're working on your database, if no one's ready to buy or sell right now in your database, you got to go find someone that is. So for me, it's always running through that check down of the most likely to do business to the least likely. And until I've exhausted the top of that list, I don't move into the others. Then, and then this is the best part too. Remember, you get to schedule everything. So 7:30 a.m., well, really 7 o'clock, I'm starting my day. I'm preparing my first things first. I'm writing down all my goals. You don't have to start at 7. You can do whatever you want. Depends on how much money you want to make, right? I'm on the phone at 7:30 talking to frustrated people that weren't able to get their home sold. Then I'm going through that check down to my for sale by owners. And then I do this in hour spurts. So I'll go 7:30 to, and sometimes 45 minutes. Like I said, we talked last week, I have an egg timer, right? The egg timer goes off, 45 minutes, I get a 15-minute break. 15-minute break, I go outside, get some air, drink some water, do whatever. Boom, the clock starts again. And this clock keeps going until my conversation goal is met. Now, when it was me, it was 20 a day, 5 days a week, 100 contacts, period, interstate, 100 conversations about buying or selling real estate, 400 a month. That produced me, and still for all the people that we know that are doing that kind of regimen, that made easily in the first year $250,000, right? The people go 400 just sounds like it's impossible. No, it's not. There's people that do 40 a day. There's people that do a lot more than that. So it's all this limited mindset. What they're good at is clearing out all of the other stuff that we need to be working on. So to answer this question as clear as possible, I would work in sprints, get my conversations done, period, end of story. And that allows me the right to work on my listing presentation. Then I have maybe role play on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Find a role play partner to pitch your live presentation to. Maybe Tuesdays at 3 o'clock, if you're not out on an appointment and you hit your conversations, you schedule making the actual content better. So maybe that's the design of it, the marketing material of it, the texture, the feel, the pre-listing package. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not easy being an entrepreneur, right? It is not easy to play the harmonica, the guitar, hit the drum with your right foot, be this one man or one person band. But here's what I want you to stay really positive about. It shall pass. You're going to be doing all of those for a moment until you don't have to anymore, because now everything starts clicking and you hire somebody to play the banjo. It's a funny thing to think about. Then you hire somebody to play the drums. Then you hire somebody, and then you have this beautiful team or band all working together. But yeah, it's gonna suck for a minute for sure. But your ability to schedule and your ability to block out the drama, because what we're going to tell ourselves is immediately is, I need to work on my buyer consultation. I need to work on my listing presentation. I need to work on my social media. I need to work on the client appreciation event I'm going to have. I need to work on this, work on this. And then what happens is we turn in our weekly sheet and we did 22 out of 50 conversations for the week. If
Yeah.
you would have hit those 51 conversations week over week, and I'm just saying, do it for 90 days. Everyone just keeps going, Well, I don't believe that it works. I don't believe, because you're doing it. You're doing it and shotgunning it. You're going, I did it for 3 days and I didn't set 4 listing appointments. Well, that's not realistic. It just isn't realistic. It's a minimum of 90 days, period. And then all of it shows up. And it shows up to the point so much where now you're in a lead follow-up rhythm that becomes really highly productive, right? And how you're structuring that. So, really long answer, but I wanted to go through that in complete detail because, Anna, I wrote down the other day, and one of the things that I really think people struggle with, how bad do you want this? Some of us are comfortable with being middle to lower class in this country. And what I mean by that is by level of income. We've got comfortable with thinking that that's the best that the world can offer because either we've met the expectations of our previous family, which again, my family was psychopathic scrubs, so there was a very low bar to try to ever be impressive. So I had to find other mentors and other people in my world to aspire to because a better quality of life is it's better. We only have so much time, right? It's just living in a nice house or living in an average house. It's a very different experience. But the question I always ask, Anna, is are you willing to sacrifice 2 years of pure, all out, giving it everything you have to have another 8 years, 18 years of awesomeness? Some of us just aren't really to make that sacrifice for the 2 years of discomfort.
I think to your point, and some of the things I wrote down as you were talking is if you look at a 30-day period, there's a lot of days that you can. And I think we get in our heads where it's like, oh, yeah, I have to go to the groomer and oh my gosh, this happened. And can you believe blah, 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 blah? But when you really look at it, there's a lot of days where we can actually achieve our goals. The challenge is the drama makes us feel special. And the drama makes us feel important because if I'm at the water cooler and can be like, I'm so busy and so, and this happened, and people go, oh my gosh, and they fill you up with all of that drama approval, success is really boring. If you just came in and did what you had to do and you didn't have the drama, like you said, that's sometimes the most painful part is letting all of that action or attraction go just to go, I'm hitting my conversation goal and I'm making people feel special. Everything else falls away. And do you have the grit to be that boring?
Let me put that
Do
in
you
perspective, Anna. I'm so glad. This just happened to me in real time, right? And I want to give this example because it did just happen to me in real time. We have a sales meeting tomorrow, and at our sales meetings, we give out cash for certain award prizes. And our person that is that's in charge of the office in Keller World, that's an MCA, right? She's like, I don't have any cash for tomorrow. Can you please make sure you stop by and grab cash, or can someone get this cash from the ATM? In that moment, I can respond and be like, let it blow up my day and go, I will make sure it's taken care of. I'm like Anna just said, I'm putting out the fire. Don't worry, it'll be all done. Or I can ignore it and go, probably by end of day, somebody's going to figure out how to solve this. Because do I really need to go to the ATM and get $900 cash to hand out to agents tomorrow? No. If I just ignore it, right, Anna? But my first inclination is I've got to be a superhero and solve the ATM problem.
there
And
you go.
then and then this would have suffered. After I get off of this, I have my own list of things that I need to accomplish. Nowhere on here says go to ATM and get cash. It doesn't say it on here, right? Now, I want to put that in perspective. Doesn't mean I'm not gonna, probably check in at the end of the day and be like, hey, did you figure out the ATM thing? Here's the thing: most problems will solve themselves if you just shut up and wait. But we would rather do anything on earth than pick up the phone and make a phone call or knock on a door. I'd be like, I'm going to the ATM right now. Gotta go, right? So I hope that's a lifetime example of just how hard it is to say no to certain things or to ignore certain things or to do all of this. But when you become an expert on knowing there are two lead indicators that do 90% of everything that I want to accomplish in this world, the top professionals have blocked out everything else to a certain degree. Not saying it's a family emergency, something, and again, use family emergency in your own definition, because some of you think a family emergency is your daughter's hair color was different than it turned out to be or whatever, right? Like oh my gosh, Stacy, she thought it was going to be dark or brown, so I need to talk to her for 40 minutes because she's crying. Stacy's going to be fine. She'll be fine. You know what's not fine? You're not hitting your conversations and the kid's not getting to get to go to Legoland next year. That's what's not fine. So you got to make those decisions in the moment. Sorry, get
And
off
not take
my
on other
pedals.
people's no, stay up there, we got a couple more questions. It really is a mindset pause of going, is this my emergency? Because it's real easy to take it on. Like you said, couldn't have had a better visual. Can I be the superhero in this moment? People love feeling filled up in those moments. Success is truly boring if you really commit to it, which kind of leads into our next question. So, one of our Pulse Power agents wrote in and said, I have a part time assistant. I'd love for her to start using the first things first. My fear is that she's going to set her own priorities and they're not going to be mine. I don't want to be a micromanager. So, how do I implement this in a successful way with my first assistant?
Yeah, so basically there's two things here, whether it's an in-person assistant or as we're seeing a lot of leverage through virtual assistants, okay? It is not your, here's what we do wrong, Anna. We hire someone and we go, I'm going to hire someone. I'm expecting that they're going to help me do more business this year. Uh. That is the fallacy that, believe me, I've learned and so many others have learned from trial and error. The only way to set someone up for success and to really make sure that they're set up for success is we have to dial down every position to making sure that people are focused on one or at the most two lead measures, that in their role, when they complete those lead measures, everything else is better in your world. So, what I say is usually in the assistant world, those are checklist or checkdowns. So, for example, if I have an assistant and there's a difference, I want to make sure we're clear. There's an assistant and then there's a transaction coordinator. Those are two very different roles. Sometimes we try to throw them in together. So, in a beautiful real estate business, the first hire you're trying to find is your executive assistant. This is the person that you are bringing in that is going to do a lot of the busy work, or not busy work, but everything that's on the should do and would to list, so you can focus on doing your one thing. What usually happens is we bring this person in, we spend a ton of time working and collaborating with them on the should do and would do list, and we completely ignore that they're here to do the other two things. So here's how you win on that question. First of all, I want you to take a piece of paper and draw a line right down the middle. Write down every single thing that you would like your assistant to do that would help you produce more business. Make sure that's at the top of the page. Produce more business. So write down everything that you would like them to do on the right hand side. On the left hand side, I want you to have you and what you need to do to make sure you can pay for them and 10x that investment. Once you have that list on the right hand side, when you have the assistant's list of items, now you're going to create a checklist. Now that's either a daily checklist, a weekly checklist, perhaps even sometimes a monthly checklist. We utilize this in Trello, Trello. It's a workflow management system, so all of our checklists are digital, right? That's how last year we did over 400 transactions. We have one transaction manager and she is legendary. And we have virtual assistants backing her up to do 400 transactions, right? I know another team in San Antonio is doing 600 with that same setup. So we had to get very detailed on exactly what those checklists are, what that structure is, and then they complete it every day. So their one thing, or those two things on I must do, is complete my operational checklist. Complete, maybe it's my opening checklist, my closing checklist, my social media checklist. And until that's done, I don't start working on stuffing envelopes for my golden letters, or I don't work on. We're the victim of our own problems, right? We come
I
in and
was
we're
just,
like, yeah, it's like
I've
Anna,
got
it's
a
like we
whole
know what
story
needs to
for
get
this.
done, and we're like, hey, there's a broker's open at XYZ Street, so let's blow up our schedule and let's go videotape me doing a day in the life of a realtor at this video shoot, right? Is that going to make you the most money? No, not even close. Not even in a million years. The only reason you should have an assistant that's trying to help you is either if they're improving your ambassador 46 touches, period, end of story, or they're taking so much else off of your personal life, like all the other to dos, so that you can be more effective talking to people about buying or selling real estate. You can't hire an assistant if your goal was to do 10 conversations, hire an assistant and go down to do 5 conversations. It's hire an assistant and then your goal and your target should be 20 conversations because you got nothing else to do because they're doing the rest of the stuff, right? So just think about that and then think about how to structure this. You don't need to micromanage it and do it every day, right? Again, when we first started this with our entire team, we did have everyone post it on a text message just so we knew everyone was doing it, but I wasn't analyzing it. Now, if I saw some dumb stuff on there, I'd be like, oh, let's talk about it, have a coaching moment, right? So you can definitely do that, but here's the challenge. You got to lead by example and do it yourself. One of the things we love to do what I say, don't do what I do, right? So you go, do the pulse thing because Brendan said you should do it. And then you're not doing it. So, first, I would strongly recommend you develop the practice for the next 5, 10, 20 business days. Make sure that you can believe it, breathe it, and attest to it. And then you're going to be able to tell them to do it and hold them accountable.
I want to add two little things to that, Brendan. And this comes from personal experience. I have the honor and privilege of working with some incredible virtual assistants on the marketing side of our real estate team. And I have to say, to Brendan's point, their must-dos are built into daily checklists. But here's the thing about being the manager, the CEO, the owner of that department, and then having leverage. So whether you're a real estate agent or on the ops side, it works both ways. We are the dynamite that often blows up our assistant's effort, right? They have the checklist, but I come in and go, wait, hold on. There's 900 things I need you to accomplish because it's a priority to me, rather than letting them do the checklist we've already established for them to have high levels of success, right? So don't be the dynamite in your own business. Allow the checklist to do the work and then create priorities in the shoulds and woulds column of the first things first. On that, I want to say, get out of your head about being a micromanager. Accountability is a powerful piece of any really strong relationship in business. If you're afraid to set expectations and hold people accountable to what you expect, that's going to be a problem, especially if you're thinking to yourself, I don't want to be a micromanager. If that means that you're not willing to provide clarity to the people around you, and oftentimes they're seeking more clarity than you think you're giving. Right, Brendan, any thoughts on that?
No, you are dead right, especially until you create a rhythm and a cadence, right? Especially in the beginning. We've got to create standards. Write this down if you're listening out there. Inspect what you expect, right? Inspect what you expect. That was told for me early on because I was like, I don't get why they're just not doing everything I told them to do 4 years ago or 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago. Well, I never went back and inspected what their process was, kept getting disappointed. I can only be mad at me, right? When I point the finger, there's three pointing right back at me because it's my fault. I didn't have the system right, the model right, and I lost talented people because early on I was just like blah, 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 and then they wouldn't do it or whatever. And then I'd be like, they suck. No, I sucked. I didn't enable them to have success. It's all my fault. Like,
We've got
I'll
to
put caveat. I'll put a caveat. There was 2 or 3 psychos in there that just shouldn't have been working with me, right? But most of the time, it was my fault.
last question, Brendan. Just talk us through the daily cadence. So you mentioned that you use the first things first every day. What's your cadence to success? Do you do it in the morning before your first call, or do you set your first things first things first up the night before? Walk us through some pro tips on that.
Yep. So always the first part of the day. So my process and my check down, we talked about the 7:30, right? So really 7 a.m. if I'm going to hit the phones at 7:30. I review my goals is one of the first main things. My whole goals. My wife, my when everything's awesome in 3 years, I'm reviewing everything. If you could see my office, I have three different companies. So I have three different what we call vision traction organizers. I review those because it's the constant thing of telling me either I'm on track or not, right? So for you in your world, you're going to review what are you going to accomplish this year. Second thing, then I take my sheet from the previous day, my Pulse first things first sheet from the previous day. I look at it and I go, what did I get done? What did I not get done? What went wrong? What went sideways? What needs to be changed today to make sure that I'm focused on those two things to get them done first? If I got them done yesterday, awesome, and I was able to work on other stuff, I'm kind of patting myself on the back. Cool, Brendan, great job. If not, I've got to figure out a new plan and go, okay, I'm going to shut my computer off until 11 o'clock so I don't have any distractions, or I'm going to do this, or whatever it is necessary. So then I go and I start into, then next I pull out my daily accountability scoreboard, which mine's down here, but I pull out my daily accountability scoreboard, so right? Then I'm going to fill this beautiful mastery piece into place. And all this takes 3 minutes. We're like, man, that seems like a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. 3 minutes to make $1 million plus a year. Sorry, you're going to have to do some things, right? So then I put my goal down here for how many conversations I'm going to have about buying or selling real estate. I decide on the categories, who I'm going to be calling and having conversations with or door knocking that day. And then I go and attack until the job is done in 45-minute sprints. After this beautiful thing is completed, I'm good. I hit my conversations, everything else. Now I get to go back to my pulse sheet. I get to look at everything else that needs to get done. And I go from left down to right up and work my way through it in order. You could number these if you want. You could do whatever. But remember, every day it could change because you put a property under contract today and you know there's an inspection objection due at tomorrow at 5 p.m. Are your should do's going to change a little bit? Absolutely they are. If it was just easy enough that our should do's just kept being like, improve your 46 touch system and all of this, no, you're going to have stuff. Today we have in our club, we have a annual members meeting, right? So that's at a certain time. I've got to go to that. I don't really want to go do it, but I go to it because I network and I meet a bunch of rich people that want to talk about what's going to be on the menu for our club this year. Put a bullet in my head. I do it though because all of these people in the conversations I'm going to have, they always ask me, so Brendan, how's the market? Boom. Conversation. So just think about those three tools. Then at the end of the night, I update my weekly scoreboard and I'm done. That's the day. At the end of the week, I take this, put it into the digital analyzer that we provide as part of this service. Boom. Now I know all my numbers. I know my conversions, my levels, and everything else. And now that choo-choo, that train is on the track to get to Success Town, and that rhythm is right there, day after day after day. But you have got to get habitual, right? Read Atomic Habits, read it 4 times, read it 10 times. Get these habit stacks in place. That's the only thing that separates so much of this is stacking the correct habits on top of each other.
Awesome. I want to give a shout out to everyone who joined us today for Pulse Overtime, Ray Morosi, Charlie Peterson, Kara Redman, and so many others. We love that you're a part of
we got Courtney, we got Jocelyn, we had Brett, we got Kira. Yeah, all these fantastic people. Thank you for making the time.
Absolutely. Charlie, we will make sure that you get a pre-built version of the 46 Touch campaign. You requested it, and we are happy to deliver that. So check your email. We'll make sure that you get a copy of it. If you have any questions or looking for additional resources, please reach out to info@Pulse Power Agent, and we hope to see you on Pulse every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time.
Yeah, and if you had fun here, remember, we have a nationally acclaimed podcast, so Real Talk with Brendan Bartic, where we cover so many of these subjects, so you can learn there. Our YouTube channel, of course, if you want to see the live videos and so many downloads and all of that. So again, just got to learn to earn. We got to get better little by little every day, every week. So have a powerful week. We'll see you next Tuesday at our live session, Mountain Standard Time, on Pulse Power Sessions. Then we'll be here at 11:30 overtime every single week. And thanks so much. Have a great week. Take care, everyone.
See you, everyone.